Hi guys, it's Michelle with Deception Bytes, and I'm back again for another Q video. Kind of getting a late start tonight, but I'm picking up from where we left off last time. And if you will recall, we had a conversation about the wizards and warlocks, and I said that I would look into it. I kind of left off with that post, and I said that I would look into it because I wasn't sure and I didn't want to give wrong information. And I'm glad now that I did look into that more and gain a better understanding of that, because I always understood that the wizards and warlocks was the NSA, because it was mentioned in one of the Snowden movies. There's a couple movies out about that whole deal, but it isn't. It isn't referring to that, and it's quite fascinating. And some of the material that we're going to get into is really interesting. And I think that's the importance of going through these step by step, because these posts that come later are informing on the posts that went before. So some of these posts that went before that, we're all scratching our head over, well, now they make perfect sense, because as we've gone along, and certainly some of these things have already happened, so we're able to have the, we can look at it and say, oh, okay, well, that's what that meant. And it teaches us how to read the code, you see, because once it happens, we see how Q tried to tell us, and it helps to inform us how to read these code, like the codes that he puts in these. So it's interesting. Anyway, let me get into where we left off with the whole wizards and warlocks, and I'm going to start with the wizards. Okay, so I'm going to show you something, and please be patient with my slow computer. I really am getting it updated very soon. It needs a little more RAM in there to give it some juice. Anyway, this is who is referred to as the wizards, and it's part of the Navy. It's Special Projects Patrol Squadron 2. Their motto is anytime, anywhere. And interestingly enough, look where they're located. Hawaii. Remember we had a conversation back a little while ago about Trump. Why he asked why did he land in Hawaii? Why did he go to Hawaii? I assumed, that it was for refueling, but Air Force One has the ability to refuel in flight. But there was also speculation that, he doesn't want to use that for obvious reasons. So anyway, don't know if there's a connection there, but there could be. But let's take a look at this logo right here. Okay. First of all, we've got this black, which is supposed to be the inside of the hood, but notice that it's in the shape of a pyramid. It's roughly in the shape of a pyramid, which is odd, right? Because you would expect it to be round if there's a head in there. Pointy hat, of course, too, like a wizard. This guy's dressed in green. Emerald green has significance in the occult. Not sure if there's a connection here, but interesting. Also, notice that he has 3 lightning bolts. He or she has 3 lightning bolts. And again, lightning bolts have a great significance in the occult. And the long, kind of pointy fingernails. It just gives the impression of somebody shadowy, creepy, I don't know. Not what I would expect from the U.S. Navy. Certainly not a logo I would expect from them. Excuse me. Now, this group apparently, I don't know exactly what they do, and I don't think that they're going to come right out and tell us exactly what they do, but it's kind of a black ops type deal. They're very secretive. They're very secretive, shadowy. I don't know exactly what they do. And anyway, so we have this guy, and he's kind of, notice his hands are kind of over, hovering over or around this globe here. And he's got these lightning bolts as if he's thinking, where am I going to put these lightning bolts? Where am I going to throw them? Who am I going to throw them at? I don't know. That's what it appears like to me. There's a globe here with the north, south, east, west direction on it. He's kind of hovering over it. He's got this weird kind of pointy hat with, this is kind of, It's not like a straight point, but then you've got this pyramid type shape. Just very odd, like no face there. This person's kind of in the shadows, but they've got these glowing eyes as if they can see in the dark. And I don't know what to make of this, but it's interesting. That's about all I can say about it. It's interesting. So let's look at another. Oops. Oh, for heaven's sakes. And it'll just be a minute here. Now, I found this about this group as well, and it's about an accused spy that served in one of the Navy's most shadowy squadrons, which happens to be what they call the Wizards. And it's not about this spy. I didn't pull this up because of the spy, but because it kind of inadvertently tells us a little bit about this agency, whatever it is. A U.S. Navy officer charged with spying for a foreign power worked at one of the service's most elite reconnaissance squadrons whose operations are shrouded in secrecy. So like I said, we're not going to really know exactly what they do. And then this Lieutenant Commander Edwin Lynn, a naval flight officer, worked for Special Projects Patrol Squadron 2, and that is who they refer to as the Wizards, for a year before being arrested last summer, according to his Navy record, and they are part of the Navy. How is that pronounced? Kanohi, Hawaii-based VPU-2 is one of two special project squadrons that sources say are made up of the fleet's top marine patrol officers who fly the P-3 Orion and the P-8A Poseidon. Now, I don't know what they are. Obviously, this is a plane. I don't know if this is a ship. I would assume so, since it's Poseidon. VPU guys are generally the top 25% of the program, said an aviation officer who asked for anonymity to discuss sensitive maritime surveillance programs. They are specially screened. Lynn faces charges for sharing classified information with sources in the Asia-Pacific region. His placement inside the shadowy world of VPU-2 could give foreign spy masters unparalleled access into classified reconnaissance capabilities and intelligence from the region. Very little is public about VPUs, including details about the aircraft they fly. The outfit has access to Joint Urgent Operational Needs Funds, which sidesteps and speeds the normal acquisition process, the officer said. Generally speaking, the VPU officers are those who earn the highest evaluations during their first tour. So, and I don't think that we have to, get into all this about this guy, because I don't think that it's related. It could be, but it just, kind of shows us that I think that this is more in line with the stuff that Q has been dealing with, because he's been dealing with, kind of special ops type things and what goes on in that shadowy world. So I'm thinking this is more in line with, and probably who Q is referring to. Again, I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. I'm trying my best to figure this out, just like all of you are. So, again, I've received wonderful information from people that are just listening and say, no, it could be this or whatever. And, and I look into it and I find, yep, they're right. So, it takes us all. So let's look at the other part of this, and that would be the warlocks. So the warlocks, let's give them a boo. Now, this group is the warlocks. It is a scientific development squadron 1, and likewise, I don't know what they do. So, the squadron also maintains the training, qualifications, and proficiency of all assigned military personnel, government, civilians, contractors, and project specialists, as well as the maintenance of the research aircraft. They do research of some sort. And I know that recently they worked on a project with NASA. So something to do with snow in Colorado, and I can't remember because I read it a couple days ago when I was looking at this and can't remember it all. But I do know that this particular group does work with NASA now, at least on that project. I don't know if it's an ongoing thing or not, but it's interesting. Now, let's look at their logo, because believe it or not, they have a Facebook page. Yep, they sure do. So this is their Facebook page, and you'll notice VXS-1 Warlocks. And let's look at their logo. Sorry, I have to take a drink here. It is like, I don't know, minus 10 or minus 12 here, and with the electric heat going, it is so dry. I've got a humidifier going full blast, and it's still dry in here. Anyway, so here's the Warlocks, and I don't know what to think about this. You've got the same sort of shadowy type figure. This guy has the black fingernails, but it's still the same idea as the last guy. But this guy's really in the shadows. Now, I don't know what all this is. It looks like smoke. It doesn't look like fire. I don't know. I don't know what that is rising up from him. But he's definitely rising out of the darkness. And he has a globe in his hand too. Now, I don't know what this would be, other than possibly a satellite. I don't know. I can't tell. Like, it's just not a good enough picture to be able to tell exactly what that is. And then you've got these little guys that don't look like stars. They look like satellites of some sort. And you've got that lightning bolt, and then you've got the outline of a plane. So what do they do? I don't know. I really don't. So I'd be very interested to hear what you guys think of this. Like, very interested. So, yeah. So that's the wizards and the everything you never wanted to know. Anyway, okay, we're going to leave this post for now. I would not doubt if wizards and warlocks will come up again. But I am going to continue to look into this. So, but I'm going to move on. Now, November 20th, Q says, coordinated effort to silence. And he's talking about that there's a coordinated effort to silence him, Q. And shilling, bots, and other methods are being coordinated to silence investigative efforts by Anons. Because if you post on 4chan, the political, or any of the boards there, you're called anonymous. So that's why it's called Anons. And there was all sorts of shilling and bots. And that's why Q eventually moved to 8chan. I don't know if they were better able to control the shilling and bots and so forth, but he has moved to 8chan. Now, he says, coordinated efforts to silence. It will only get worse. And then he said, all for a LARP, right? Now, meaning a LARP, in case you don't know, is a live action role-playing. And it happens a lot in forums. I don't know if any of y'all hang out in forums, but it happens a lot, especially in conspiracy type forums. You'll have someone come on, they'll say, oh, I've got this intelligence from my uncle, and they'll go into this big long thing and they'll play it out as long as they can and drag it out as long as they can, and it's just some guy in his mother's basement LARPing, live action role playing. He's playing a role. He's pretending that he's somebody that he's not. And it happens a lot. So, and initially when Q started posting, a lot of people felt that Q was a LARPer, that's what he was doing. But as he started posting things and then they'd happen, people realized, okay, this is not somebody doing live action role playing. This person knows information, and that's been confirmed time and time again. And there is nobody now that I've looked into this that could convince me that this is live action role playing. There's absolutely no question that it's somebody that has information and access to the top. So if you look at the first line in what he said, it spells CIA. And we know that Q embeds a lot of stuff in his posts in all sorts of ways. So I always look at every single way to see if there's any other messages in there. And I've probably missed a good plenty of them because, I try, but there's probably more stuff embedded than I've ever been able to dig out. So we can move ahead from that. I think that's all we can glean from that for now. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing here. Full of turkey. Okay. Now, this gets into some really interesting stuff, the next several posts. So, November 21st, Q says, expand your thinking. Captain Mike Green. Confirm D-TT, whatever that is, V891-0600-yes-green1- underscore 0600 bunker apple yellow sky, and then a bracket and +1 ... +1 yes. Who countered? Do you believe in coincidences? Learn how to read the map. Q. Now, always when Q says learn to read the map, he's talking about the Q map. And the Q map is referring to the graphic that contains all of his posts. I've got all of his posts here, but I've pulled it out and I've put it into a Word document just so that I can comment on it and pull it out and do a search find on it to look for stuff. So that's what the map is. So we're looking at the map right here, basically, without all of my stuff in there. So now when you look at this, it's just a mess. But because when I was reading this, I thought I have no idea what he's saying. So as you go forward a few, you realize what he's talking about. So I came back to this because once I had understood what he was talking about, I came back to this. So Q gave us the clue before the crash. Now, do you remember the crash that happened on Rothschild's property? That's what he's talking about. That's what this is right here. And we're going to show you. We're going to go forward and it's going to be broken down. But that's what this is. He's giving the clues to that. And this is the same day that the crash happened. Okay? So he's giving us the clues, and then this was posted the same day of the crash. And he's doing this basically to confirm, because he's giving all this information. Then the crash happens, okay? And then you come back to this, and Q points out what all these codes meant. And you go, holy crap. Well, I did. Maybe you're not going to say holy crap. I did. All right. So we have been given clues about what happened beforehand. Learn to interpret the statements and questions correctly to understand what is being conveyed and to be able to correctly build the bigger picture. Okay, that's what Q is asking us here, because now when we go forward and we learn what happened and we learn that everything was embedded here, we can have insight into how Q is coding things. Now, let's, okay, I'm going to actually go forward a bit before I go out to here, because it's not going to make sense to you yet. Hang on. Oh, I'm telling you, I'm so full of turkey, I just can't. Okay. Now, November 21st. I'm going to come back to this, okay? I want to just make sure that everything is, I'm going in an order that's going to make sense to everyone. November 21st, he's posting what was posted prior to the stringer. And I put this with a thing, but it was not correct. Okay, so I'm taking that out of there. All right. Now, when you're talking about stringer, this is what he's talking about. All this right here, these three, that's a stringer. That's what he's talking about. So what keywords, okay, and then he says what was posted prior to the stringer would be Captain Mike Green. Okay, this is important. Captain Mike Green. Then what keywords were within the stringer? Green, bunker, apple, yellow, sky. See? Green, bunker, apple, yellow, sky. Those were, well, and yes, were in the stringer. Okay? That's the words that were there. Now, why would keywords be left in the stringer? Well, because they're code for something, obviously. Then he says the future shows the past. And the future will make past posts make sense. And we know that because we've seen this time and time again. And it's especially true here because the crash hasn't happened yet. Okay? So the future is going to show the past. This is the past. What he wrote was going to happen, and the future is going to show this. Okay? Now, and then he says, learn to read the map. And of course, we know that is the Q map. Everything has meaning. Everything. He's stressing that. Nothing in here is erroneous. It's all for a purpose. It's all critical. Okay? Now, I can't say that I know what every single thing is yet, but maybe even further posts are going to tell us. But anyway, now I think I'll have to come back to this too, because I want it to do it in an order that's going to make sense to you. Otherwise it's going to feel like it's being piecemealed. Okay, now Q on the 21st. This is after the crash has happened, okay? And Q is trying to give us the clues so that we can decode. He's saying keywords, confirm, green, okay? Well, green is the captain of the helicopter. Remember, there was a helicopter and a Cessna that crashed on the Rothschild's property. So green was that was the last name of the captain of the helicopter. Sky, well, a helicopter flies in the sky, right? And so does a Cessna. So why were keywords added in the stringer? So that the receiver could break a code and get the command and new key. What was the purpose? To send a message to someone receiving the stringer. Receiver needed to break the code to get the command and new key. What was previously stated? Now, if you will remember, it was back a little while. I don't know how many posts back, but this is what Q stated in a post. We're watching your family, and distress calls won't do any good. And in square brackets were the letters L, D, R. So people surmised that it could stand for Lynn D. Rothschild. It didn't. It stood for Lord D. Rothschild. So, and we know that because of things that Q has dropped. Now, to who specifically? Now, who was this aimed at? We're watching your family, and distress calls won't do any good. Well, Well, basically, I don't think that was the exact words, and I think I have it up here. It's basically, we can hear you breathing, like, basically, this was the long and short of it. This was like the long and short of it, but it really was basically, we've got our eyes on you, we're watching you, and we can hear you breathing. And it was targeted towards the Rothschilds. And so Q is asking, to who specifically? Well, to the Rothschilds, or to Lord de Rothschild. We don't know if it was one Rothschild or two or how many, but Lord de Rothschild. And then Q answers the question himself, because he puts 2 pluses. And we know from previous posts and decoding previous posts that 2 pluses stand for Lord de Rothschild. Okay? Now, and Lord de Rothschild and the Rothschilds are one side of the pyramid. The pyramid is made up by the House of Saud on the bottom. One side is Soros, one side is Rothschild. And according to Q, okay, I'm saying according to Q, by decoding what he has said, this is what is so. This is not the world according to Mishel, it's the world according to Q. So, we know that they are part of what makes up the triangle. And we know that 2 pluses stand for the Rothschilds because of what Q has said previously. Who countered? So their mission was to take out Rothschild, okay? But Q is asking, who countered? Well, bad actors, I guess, would be, according to Q, bad actors could be the CIA. Or someone acting on behalf of the Rothschilds. All right. Then he says, learn to read the map. And of course, that's the Q map. And he says, missing critical item. Missing critical items. So he's telling the people that are decoding this that you're missing critical items. And he said the graphic is the key. And the graphic means, of course, the graphic containing all of his posts. And he says ordering is critical. And of course, we know this by going through these line by line. We know that the ordering is critical, because in order to understand what comes later, we must understand what goes before. And then he says Q. Now, I'm going to go up again to another post, and then I'm going to come back to some of these side things so that they make sense to you. And we're going to get into here actually decoding it. Q says archive immediately. Basically, what he's saying is this message, make sure you add that to the graphic immediately, like to the Q map. Archive immediately. Stringer equals code. Code equals command. What stringer was provided 2 days prior to the event. And of course, the event is the crash. And this is the stringer, of course, that we just looked at. And this is the stringer that was provided before the event happened. Okay. What were the keywords in the stringer? Confirm, green, bunker, apple, yellow, sky. Confirm, period. The events mentioned in the keywords have already happened, and it needs to be confirmed. And it should teach us how to read the code. So, green, yes. Sky, why were keywords provided? And this is basically going over the same stuff again, but he's adding a little bit here. Guide to reading map. Yes, the keywords were codes for reading the post or the Q map. Lord D.R., Lord de Rothschild, who is Jacob Rothschild, the 4th Baron Rothschild. What was previously stated? And where's that? Okay, this is the exact post. Okay, I thought I had it written down somewhere. This is the exact post. Distress calls to others will do your family, you, and /family, no good at this stage. We know where you / the family are at all times and can hear you breathing. Okay, previously stated it was, I previously stated that it was Linda Rothschild, but it's not. It's Lord de Rothschild. So And if you look in here in the squares, because we know that that's one of the ways that Q does things, is LDR. So we know that that's who he's aiming this at, and it turns out to be Lord de Rothschild. What was previously stated, we just looked at that, and plus, that's the Rothschild side of the pyramid. Who was the pilot of the plane? Okay, well, let's get into this now. Okay. Now, this is the pilot of the plane. This was the Cessna, not the helicopter. And this is the first picture of Vietnamese pilot in a helicopter crash over Rothschild estate. And his name was Jasper Barha, which is where the yellow came in, by the way, which I'd say is a little racist, but hey, I don't know. Okay. Death crash. Helicopter pilot 32 died in midair collision alongside 3 others after a plane suddenly dropped in height over Rothschild's estate. And this guy was one who died, but that's not the pilot. The helicopter pilot killed in the crash with an aircraft during a training flight over has been pictured, and that guy was named Green. That was Captain Mike Green. This guy is just another guy that died. Let me see. He was in the helicopter with Green at the time, this guy. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, so I'm not going to mangle it. The Vietnamese Minister of Defense said he had been taking part in an advanced flight instructor training session with Captain Mike Green. So this guy right here was from Vietnam, and he was in the plane in the helicopter rather with Captain Mike Green. Now, Captain Mike Green had a long and illustrious career, was top-notch pilot and was training this guy, and there is the guy that was the captain of the helicopter. Okay, and then and he was an experienced pilot and started his career in the forces. This guy was inside the Cessna. He's 18 years old, and he was a student. He was inside the Cessna when it came down. And according to Q, the Cessna contained the so-called bad actor, and Mike Green was a so-called good, he was the person that was trying to carry out this mission. Now, this picture right here, I have no idea because it doesn't say who it is. It just has this picture of this guy. Like, the pilot was one of 4 killed in the horror, but that's under his picture, unless this is a picture of the pilot of the Cessna. I don't know, but this is a strange looking picture if you ask me. They couldn't get a better picture of him? Like, come on. He was also killed when the plane came down in Buckinghamshire. So I guess that would be the pilot, but that's an awfully odd picture of him, if you ask me. But anyway, and the helicopter company is seen as one of the best in the country, and Mike taught students as young as 17. Savan is a student at Bucks New University studying air transport and commercial pilot training. It is believed that one of the aircraft had been flying for about 15 minutes after taking off from Wycombe Air Park, 20 miles from the crash. Firefighters launched a drone over the fallen wreckage in a desperate search for survivors, blah, 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 blah. And that's really not that important to us. There's Mike Green again with his helicopter. This is a picture of the crash, an aerial image. And this is an aerial image of emergency vehicles at the scene of the crash. And there's the smoke rising from the crash site. So, yeah. And there is the manor, Rothschild's manor, just a small little country home. A cottage, really. Just a cottage. Probably just a 1-bedroom, 1-bath there. You know, tiny little place. Anyway, the incident happened near Waddesdon Manor near Aylesbury. And here's a little map of that, and a helicopter. Okay, I don't know. That's just a helicopter. It's not the helicopter. So, yeah. So basically, this is the information. Sorry. Yeah. Now, but apparently the pilot's name was Jaspel Barha. He was 45. So, okay. Now, Q is saying bad actor. Yes, Jaspel Barha, the Cessna pilot, was the bad actor, according to Q. Okay. Who was the pilot of the helicopter? Well, that was Captain Mike Green. And we saw his picture there. And Q is saying Green, just like he's giving us the answer here. Green? Yes. Keyword Green refers to Captain Green. What was countered? Well, that's unknown to us. We don't know what they were countering other than we think, according to Q's post, that there was a operation to take out or arrest, or I don't know. Something to do with the Rothschilds, and this pilot of the plane countered that. Who was on the ground outside shortly before the collision? It was an unnamed female Rothschild. So we don't know who it was. And there was also a man walking a dog nearby as well that showed up in one of the news articles. So those are the people that were outside, but I would assume that this person may have been the target. I don't know. I really don't know. Who was in the home shortly before the collision? Well, that would be Beth Rothschild, and that's Jacob's daughter, and she still lives on the estate. Learn to read the map. We may have overestimated your ability. I think because the people on 8chan were having a difficult time decoding this. I think this one came from 8chan, if I'm not mistaken. Because they were having a hard time decoding this, Q says, we may have overestimated your ability. Q. Now, we, let's see, I want to go back to something, make sure that we didn't miss anything. And we think that we think that this was meant to be an extraction of Lord de Rothschild. And that the planned mission was countered by Jaspel Barha, the Cessna pilot, who hit the helicopter. And this is the same article that we just looked at, so there's no need to go out to it again. I just want to make sure we haven't missed anything. Okay. Now, this is this may have been the same article. I'm not sure why I copied and pasted it so many times. Brain damage? I don't know. No, this is a different one. Death crash. Helicopter pilot 32 died in mid-air collision alongside 3 others after a plane suddenly dropped in height over the Rothschilds. This might be the same one. It is the same one. My gosh, what is wrong with me? I am losing my mind. Okay. So, we've got this, I think. I think we've conquered this beast here. But I'm making sure. I want to know that we have, we've conquered the beast here. So we have decoded that one. and I'm pretty confident that we've got that correctly decoded, especially because Q has assisted us. Now, these we're getting into a little, this is definitely 8chan, and we are getting into a little bit of a different type of post, so I'll have to explain this to you how I've done this. It started on 8chan. They've started to anons, you know, the people that post to these forums, the 4chan and the 8chan, have started to ask Q questions, and Q has actually started responding, which is very interesting, I think. So this person right here, this is not Q right here. This is just an anonymous person posting what Q has posted, trying to get some confirmation of what he's talking about. So he's reposting what Q put, and he's asking little things like base green, yellow, condition yellow, air, and then he's answering the questions just to try to see if Q will answer and say yes, right, or wrong, no, whatever. So he's okay. And he's saying, you know, he's quoting, like here, these little guys are, he's quoting Q. And so he's asking, you know, he's saying, learn to read the map. That's what Q said. He says, trying really hard is like herding kittens in here sometimes. We may have overestimated your ability. And this person, a little ticked off, said, you came to us for certain strengths, but there are weaknesses as well. Some being exploited, not enough focus. Answer the questions, build the big picture, break it back down, make memes for the normies to calm and educate so we'll be ready for the storm. So he's complaining a little bit, like, you came to us. Don't insult us by saying, you know, that you may have overestimated our ability. Because this person's saying, wait a minute, you know, you came to us, and yeah, we might have certain strengths, but we have weaknesses as well. And, you know, I can understand that frustration. So this that goes with this above post is what Q answered to this person, okay? So it's all one post really, but this part is Q answering. So he's saying, this actually should come down to this. He's saying Shadow War, Act 2, Scene 4. Movie idea, thoughts, characters. And when he says characters, he's talking about the so-called cast that were involved in this incident, the crash over the Rothschilds. Then he's telling us basically who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Good guy, pilot of helicopter, that was Mike Green. Bad guy, pilot of plane, that was that guy whose name I had a hard time pronouncing. Sorry, now I got to go back to it because Jaspel Barha, 45. That's who the bad actor was. Targets. Okay, so the targets were whoever was on the ground and in the home. So it would have been the daughter in the home and the unnamed Rothschild that was in the woods right around where the crash happened. And then he's saying story. So he's saying, okay, here's what happened. Because I think he probably got a little bit frustrated with just giving out codes that people weren't getting. Upon receipt of the go code, good guy flies during a blackout window provided by unknown agency with unknowns, parentheses, ordinary people by the look of it, to a select location, parentheses, highly classified mission, who was given the go order by X to execute, and that meant delivery, 3 for care, Bad guy intercepts message due to rogue operator embedded in tactical observation unit and takes out good guy by top-down invisible attack. Mission failure. So whatever the mission was, and that was to extract somebody, the two targets, it was a failure. And he said, encore. What has since happened? What has since occurred by targets? What has since occurred by targets? I don't know. And I don't see where anybody else has decoded that either. So, don't know. And then he ends that with saying Q. So, this is what happened. It was a mission to extract the Rothschilds, harm the Rothschilds. I don't know. But it was intercepted and the mission failed. So that's what all that's about. Now, we're going to get to something else that's really interesting that's attached to this. And then we're going to stop for the evening. November 21st. Again, this is anonymous, and he's asking Q a question. He or she, I don't know. Why is LRD? I think this person means LDR. It should be LDR, not LRD. Chatting up eagles on Twitter. Now, interesting. Why is this person means LDR? Chatting up eagles on Twitter. So, then Q replies and says, what U.S. president was nicknamed Eagle by the USSS? And that was Bill Clinton. And then he says, fly, eagles, fly. Q. Now, we're going to get to something interesting. Q mentions fly, eagles, fly. And that's a reference to Lynn de Rothschild's tweet that morning, November 21st, 2017. Now let's go look at her tweet, okay? Because I think you're going to find this as fascinating as I do. It surprises me that she's on Twitter, but anyway, she is. So this is her. This is Lynn de Rothschild. And this is what she says on Twitter that day. Now, this is the day of the crash, remember. Love each one of these guys. They deserve their happiness because they continue to earn it. Now, go and defeat the Chicago Bears next Sunday. Fly, Eagles, fly. Okay? Now, interesting, the responses she gets. The angry patriot responds, your time is almost up. And then this person replies to her and says, why is Twitter censoring? They are coming for you, and you are scared because there is nowhere for you and your friends to run. I love it. Someone else responds, is that, sorry. Is that like run so you don't rat me out or so I don't catch you? We hear you're into that, but with younger players. Or does this have to do with Malaysia Airlines? What does greed get you but lust for more greed? And then you've got another person sent this little whatever. And someone else says, Eagle equals Bill Clinton. Mm-hmm. And then somebody says, takes her tweet as if she meant it literally about being, the Bears. Anyway, sorry. First day with the new hands. I'm just kidding. All right. And then we've got, see, some people think that she didn't mean anything by this tweet, and then other people really know what she meant. So, look at this person, illusion. QAnon, plus, fly, eagles, fly, and a Rothschild. What is one to think? That Rothschild party in 72 was crazy. What's with the plastic baby parts on the table? Did anyone in the family tell you? Now, I'm sure you have seen the pictures of the Rothschild party in 72. And if you haven't, please Google them. Because, well, you just need to see them. And I don't know what is up with this. Dang, man. Here we go. It's like my computer's like has a mind of its own and it's just doing whatever it wants to do. It's very frustrating. Fly, Billy. Isn't that what you meant? Run, Clintons, run. They're coming for you. We know what you're doing and who Bill, the eagle, is supposed to fly. We can hear you breathing. Q. Yeah. So you can see. I mean, there's more replies there. You can go out and take a look at it. It's very interesting. And I think, oh gosh, that yawn just attacked me. I think, honestly, I think I'm going to start following her Twitter just to see what she's writing because it could be very entertaining and it could be very informing. So I think we're going to leave that there. It's very interesting, all this stuff about the Rothschilds. It's extremely interesting. So, but we're going to leave it there and I'm going to pick it up tomorrow here. What does the owl represent to certain cults? I think we already know that, but we're going to move ahead with more posts. And thanks so much. And I hope that you're finding this as interesting as I am. And hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate you guys and all your wonderful comments. I just, it really touches me. So I will let you go and see you tomorrow.